Good afternoon. This is Ron Brown. It's Friday afternoon, June 14th, 2024. There's about an hour and a half left in the market day, and I'm using HGS Investor and Thinkorswim for real-time delayed quotes, I guess is a good word for it. But I want to talk today about something a little bit different. I'm continuing this order flow and context series, but I'm going to integrate the top 50 group inclusion report into this video. One of my customers wanted to learn more about the group inclusion report, so I'm going to explain how it works and how well it works. So I'm going to go and get started, and before I do that, any stock index or ETF mentioned in this presentation is not a recommendation to buy or sell. All trading strategies are used at your own risk. If you don't have the software, you should get it. Just get a trial at highgrowthstock.com. You can try it for 30 days and see how these indicators and techniques work while using the software. I've got my screen laid out here the way I usually have it laid out for prospecting, with the warehouse view on top. The group inclusion report is over here, but there's a weekly chart beneath that. The top 50 is part of the designer. I'll bring this back up, and then I want to show you how we can use the top 50 group inclusion report among the many other tools that we have in this software program. Now, the top 50 group inclusion report is something I came up with many, many years ago. I don't know, at least 15. And we had the smart groups built into the software. These smart groups that are in the green folder. And you can see that there are smart groups by several people. And most of these are used in the top 50 group inclusion report, and I'm going to show you that. Now, about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, I really can't remember, Matt and George decided to incorporate this into the custom groups right here, and these custom groups are updated every day, and I'll get into that. But before I do that, I want to show you how they originated and what groups are in there. So I'm going to make this full screen. I'm going to click on this group inclusion report icon right here, and I'm going to clear and then load selection, and there is a top 50 group inclusion report. This is for it to be done manually. I still do this every day or every market day out of habit. It is not necessary to do it because it's automated now. So I'm doing this just to show you what goes in here. I think it said loaded 100. Let me do that again. Selected 198 groups. Now that seems like a lot of groups, and it is, but this includes all of the industry groups, and they are included because they show up as part of the group inclusion report. And in addition to that, if you scroll down here, you can see that there's a couple of groups selected from Dave Steckler, PZO Bullish, David Gallardi, Gil Morales has several, Woodward and Brown has the most, and then Jeffrey Scott, there's a couple by Jeffrey Scott in here, and that's it. But my thinking at the time I created this was that these smart groups are pulling out these stocks based upon certain criteria, and you can see what the criteria is. So why not just take a top 50? Take the top 50 stocks that appear and use those for prospecting. The reason this works is a lot of these stocks are leaders and they continue to go. but there are also stocks that appear which are emerging. So it seems to be the best of both worlds. Now, to make this manually, you just make a group from report, and I also do a short side, which I rarely use, but they are in my file. So this is how it is made. I'm going to cancel this, and I'm going to go to the group inclusion report, which is generated automatically every night. And you can see this is most recent. This is from yesterday. And these are the stocks that appeared yesterday in the top 50 group inclusion report. Now, I'm in my 1A view, which is the intraday view. I'm going to click through. You can see that this is not a good day because most of these stocks are down today. But that's not what I want to show you. But in a strong day, if this were a strong day, most of these stocks would be up. So just by doing this simple thing, going to most recent, and there's 50 securities in here, you can see that, and clicking through to an intraday view, you can see if the market's following through today or if it's weak. There's only 6 stocks that are positive today, and most of them are not trading. Well, these are holding up pretty well today on a weekday as far as the intraday range. But only 5 out of 50 are positive. You may be thinking, well, that isn't very good, but as I look over at another computer screen, I see that all of the major indexes are down today. So most stocks follow the broader market. The purpose of this is not just to look at a single day, but to see how these stocks have come up previously and how they've performed. Okay, so let's look at this most recent list. If I go up here to the group inclusion report and click on that and select the most recent and click on OK, it's just going to bring these top 50, or the stocks that are included today, to the top of the list. And you can see the most recent date was the 13th, or yesterday. Now I want to expand upon that, so if I can find my mouse, I'll just make this full screen, and I'll run this group inclusion report again. I have the most recent, but I want to add everything from the month of June to see if these stocks that are in today's top 50 group inclusion report have been coming up or appearing. So I'll click on this, and you can see that just since the 1st of June, I'm going to bring an arrow up here if I can. 1st of June is on here. I'm sorry, the 13th of June. But looking at the dates on these stocks like ADMA, a biotech stock, and this is why the industries are selected, so the industries show up here on this. These are the dates in June where these stocks have appeared. And you can see that, get this out of the way, as we go down the list, most of these 50 stocks have appeared before. Now this generates a whole list here, not just the 50, but the ones that are on top are the ones that I'm interested in. I'm going to go down at the bottom and show you. These are stocks that have appeared in the group inclusion report only one time, but they're not included in today's group inclusion report. You can see Ollie's Bargain, for example, OLLI. Over here, it appeared on the 10th of June, but it only appeared one time out of all of the other dates selected in June. So the ones I'm most interested in, of course, are the ones at the top of the list with multiple appearances. And let's take a look at AMDA. Get this out of the way. Okay, there I got it. I don't know what was holding me up. But anyway, AMDA is in the most recent. And I'll bring that group inclusion report back up. Put it down here in this window. And you can see that it was appearing on the 3rd, the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th of June. So let's go back to the 3rd, which would be right here. If you look down at the bottom, lower left, you'll see this is the 3rd. So it appeared all of these days. NVIDIA, of course, is appearing every day, which we would expect. HIMS appeared 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and so on. But let's go back a little further here. So I'm going to locate the designer again. I'm going to click on Group Inclusion Report, and I'm going to add May. I'm going to check the children. I just make sure that all of these folders are checked, and we'll run it. And you can see that ADMA is still at the top of the list with the most occurrences, 24. Going back to the 1st of May. 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and then there's a gap here where there was a pullback. So let's okay, I'm still on ADMA over here. So this would be the 1st. If you look down here in the corner, here's the 2nd, here's the 3rd. And then it didn't appear in the top 50, but it's been going up all this time. And then when did it reappear again? On the 10th? And this is the 10th right here. So it didn't appear on these days where it wasn't moving much, but it was appearing 1st, 2nd, and 3rd here. And these 4 days it didn't appear, but here it appeared, and it just really hasn't looked back. If we put the contextual chart on here with the 3 and the 6, a crossover happened back here, it looks like, and it stayed above the 3 and the 6 this whole time. Okay. So that was early in this move. Now let's go down. NVIDIA has been appearing for months. I'm going to skip NVIDIA. Let's look at crowd here, CRWD. And it's been appearing too, but this has been sloppy. I mentioned in my last video that this one, I was in a debit spread on it and closed it out before the big pullback. But let's just take a look at the 2nd. Here's first, here's the 2nd. It started appearing here, and then it made this really nice little run up on several days. And then, when is this here? This is the 28th. Didn't appear there, but it did appear here, and then the next day it kind of fell off the cliff for several days, and I think earnings came out then. And then this is the 5th of June. It appeared here and for several of the following days. So after the big gap up, these are tough to take, but it digested that and it just started moving up. I believe it's going to be added to the S&P 500. I'm not sure about that, but I think that something to do with it. So let's go down here and look at the next one, ASPN, which started appearing on the 2nd of May. So that's right here, 5/2/24. And it appeared for several days here, 2nd, 3rd, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 13th, as it was moving up here. The point I'm making is that a lot of times these appear in the top 50 before they've started their run. And then if we bring the other chart reading techniques in here, looking at structure and direction, you can start to see where this one really moved. The structure here from high to low was positive on several days. Let me bring up an arrow here. Okay, so there's a structure. Structure higher, high, higher, high, higher, low. This is too big. I need to make this smaller. But a continuation of mostly higher highs and higher lows. And then a couple of days of rest, and then it continued to go until it collapsed here. This is an expensive stock. And I'm still looking at CrowdStrike. I think I mentioned ASPN. But this is fine. You get the idea. So let's go to, I'll clear this. Let's go to ASPN. I'm just going to go up here, sort on these symbols. And let's see when this one started appearing. Okay, here we go. I got a little out of disjointed there. The 2nd, the 3rd, 2nd, right here. Bring the information up, window up. I should have done this earlier. Okay, so this is the 2nd, as you can see. The 3rd, the 6th, that's the 8th. Here's the 6th, 7th and 8th, then the pullback, and then the 13th. That's the 16th. That's the 15th. Okay, here's the 13th. It still appeared on the 14th, 15th, 16th, and so on. Even after the big gap up on more than likely on earnings, this continued to go up, and it continued to appear in the top 50 group inclusion report. All of these that I've looked at so far have had pretty strong runs after the initial appearance. Let's go back one more month here. And I'm going to include April. By clicking on that, it does include all of the subgroups, but I just have a habit of checking the children also. Now let's take a look and see what shows up. Okay, this is a stock I've looked at for months and have never done anything about it. But this is FTAI. It appears in the most recent. You can see that down here. And it started appearing on 4/1. I'm sure it started appearing before that. 4/1 and 4/3, 4/4, 4/5. So right here, all of these days. And then it took a break as it consolidated until the 11th. Where's the 11th there? There's the 11th. Consolidated a few days. 12th, 16th, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, and so on. A little bit choppy through here, but there's really no change in direction, or change in trend, I should say. Yeah, and if you bought here, yeah, it's a little scary if you have a couple of down days in a row, but the trend really didn't change. Okay, here's a higher low, here's a higher low here, and then it took off. It's been a little choppy, but it continues to appear. Let's look at this one with the context. Okay, the 3-6 original crossover back here, and then it pulled back. Here's another buy, right, crossover right here. Nice run, and then it went through a choppy period, and then it's crossed over again right here, and that day is the 10th of June. Let's see if here it is right here. So it's appearing in the group inclusion report on the 10th. It's a little bit choppy, but look how this stock has moved up over the months. Just change this to the weekly view. After this accumulation period down here where we're trading for about $18, this has been a massive run. Let's see, this is January. Let's see if this showed up in January. So I'm going to go back in to the designer, and I'm going to run the group inclusion report again. And I'm going to select January, February, check children. So we're looking for FTAI. There's NVIDIA, VRT, here's FTIA. 58 times it appeared. It started appearing on January 4th, and then the 5th, and several times in January, 4 times in February, several times in March. So let's just go back to that January 4th date. And this is my weekly chart. I'm going to go back to daily. And here is January right here. January 4th would be on this day. You can see that it appeared in the group inclusion report because it met the criteria of a lot of those groups. And it really took off from there. Yes, there was some consolidation here, but the trend really did not break down on the daily, or I'm sure it didn't break down on the weekly. Little pullback here, but what a beautiful stock. And the point is, this has been appearing since at least January. I'm not going to go back any further because I'm just belaboring the point. But if you use this as a primary tool, and I realize a lot of these stocks are really expensive now, but you can learn to trade debit or credit spreads and participate. Most of us aren't going to risk a whole bunch of money, lay out a bunch of capital for these stocks. But when these do appear in the group inclusion report, there are ways to play them, and I'll get into that in other videos. I'm going to try to start incorporating HGSI and Thinkorswim more together in this video series now that I'm back from vacation and getting re-energized. So let's go back to the designer, and just remember that the history is here going back to the 6th month of 2023. Today's group inclusion report, if you click here, it will appear, and you can see that this was run on the 13th. Going to go back over here. Darn it. Okay, let's go. If you want to see the groups that they were in, let's go back to the 3rd. And if you click on this up here, after you select a folder, it will take you back to, this is the 4th. It was run on the 4th, but these are stocks from the 3rd, and it will show you which stocks were appearing on that date. Once again, let me show you that. So I'm going to go clear back to May 1st, and then I'm going to click on this link right here, and you can see that this was run on the 2nd, but this is data from the 1st. And you can see which stocks were showing up then. And if you want to, you can take a look. Here's that ADMA right here. See what happened to these. CTMX. Let's just take a quick look, and then I'm going to end this. Probably failed, but yeah, it did. But look at this. What was that date? Wow. When you see stuff like this, you're never going to chase it anyway. But I was just curious. This is a company I hadn't heard of. Well, this was May 1st. That's why it appeared. But I doubt if it appeared again after that. So that was a one-day appearance. But my point is the database is here, so you can just go back and look at those dates and see what happened to some of these stocks and look to see why they appeared. If they appeared in these groups, and then it all makes sense when you see why a stock is moving and why it's moving because of certain groups like growth, acceleration, momentum, and so on. Let's take a look at one more, and then I'm going to finish this. TMDX. Not everything follows through, of course, but look at this one. Here is May 1st, and that was just the beginning. So anyway, I wanted to cover the Top 50 Group and Inclusion Report, what it is. It's related to a bunch of groups that I showed you at the beginning of this video, and it just goes in and picks the top 50 stocks which meet the criteria of those smart groups. So it's a great prospecting tool, as you can see. A lot of times these stocks are going to be extended, but how do we know what extension is? NVIDIA, you saw how many times it appeared, and it just keeps going. This is today. Okay, that's it. I'm going to end this video. I didn't really get too much into chart reading at all today, but there will be more of those videos to come. And then I'm going to cover some other things like order flow and market sentiment. Let me check my list here. You've got the PDF if you want it. Contraction properties, price action reversals, price level system. These are all things I need to cover, and then I'm going to put it together for Insider Club members. Thank you for listening, and have a good weekend.